So going into the 2024 season, the offensive line has been the biggest question. And that means that this guy here, Bill Beatonbow, has to prove himself once again that he's able to put together another offensive line that's basically piecemealed. Now, granted, coming into this year is a lot different in comparison to the last couple of years because we did lose a lot of production. But we're going to dive into that as we continue our series on the Sooner rooms for the spring of 2024 and prepare ourselves for some summer action. Before we do that, welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. Y'all know what it is. If you like this series, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We'd love for you to join this family of college football and Sooner fans, especially SEC fans. Talking a lot of ball, and we're going to be expanding here as the time allows it. Now, let's look at the offensive line for next season. I asked the question, who's the player that's going to step up and really become that anchor to replace some of the greats that we're losing? This video here is sponsored by our partners over at Aura, so you can protect your data. We're going to hear about them first. Let's look at Bill Beatonbow's line. Let's talk about all of your personal information all over the interwebs. Y'all know about that, right? Have you been getting a ton of spam calls and text messages as of late and trying to figure out why? I know I have. Well, most likely these data brokers out there have sold your information to scammers and spammers and anybody that would see value in your information. Yeah, it kind of makes you feel a little bit uneasy. I know when I did a search of my information, I saw my address, email, all kinds of stuff that had me a little nervous. Not gonna lie. That's why I've been leveraging Aura, our partner and sponsor for this video. Aura can identify data brokers exposing your information on the internet and submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Brokers are legally required to remove your information if you ask them to, but it's so difficult to get your information off of the internet. They do that by design, though. Aura also does so much more to protect you and your family. It's really easy to set up, and you don't have to download several different apps to get things like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, and more. You get everything at one affordable price. Let Aura do all the heavy lifting of protecting you in this big world of the internet like I have. I've been leveraging it for the last few months, and man, the alerts I get on how it's been opting me out of stuff has made me breathe a sigh of relief. You should check it out as well. That way you can focus on what's more important, like college football, recruiting, anything else but your information on the internet. Check out my site, www.aura.com/unfairsports. You can check out the link in the description below or the QR code here on the screen. Let them know that I sent you. Look at the offensive line, man. Bill Beatonbow has done some magical stuff over the years, right? He had a Joe Moore Award-winning line with the old regime, and those lines were a little bit different, right? And then as you start to see the new setup that we have and the type of players that he's going after, you start seeing a lot of diamonds in the rough populating on this team, right? So we're coming in this season with a very, very low production number. That's the reason why if you looked at the returning production, we were dead last in the SEC because mainly we've lost all 5 players on the offensive line, 4 of them going to the draft, and then you got Caden Green who decided to transfer and go back home. And you also got a couple other players that were backups that ended up transferring out and going closer to home as well. And so I'm going to be honest, probably a good thing that we had some movement because you need to bring in those players who are going to be able to do what you need to get done. And honestly, I think the haul in the transfer portal, it's a lot better than we anticipate. At least we've got some players that we can work with. And you're going to start seeing a little bit more production than anticipated. So let's talk about that part, right? So you're losing players like Tyler Guyton, McKay Matower. You can say what you want. That man roughly missed like 8 snaps at the right guard spot, right? He played a lot. And then you're, losing out on, Walter Rouse, who you brought in as a senior, and he did pretty well at the left tackle, protecting that blind side for Dylan Gabriel. The season overall was pretty solid for the line. It was a lot better than what people anticipated. Because when you look at the stats, Gabriel was only sacked 17 times this past season, which is the lowest of his career outside of that injury-plagued season he had at UCF. So, not bad, right? It's not bad at all. And heck, your quarterback ended up with 373 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns. obviously the offensive line is doing something to contribute to that and get him comfortable to be able to do it. So last season's line was a lot better than expected. And like I said, it sucks losing as many players as we did. But at the same time, we've got hope because this guy's still in charge. And so let's look at some of these players. So I think at the left tackle, I'm going to give you my starting line and who I think is going to be out there. And then we'll talk through some of these players. But I think at the left tackle spot, you're going to have Jacob Sexton, right? Big Sexy is back. You know, he got hurt first couple of plays in against Florida State at the Cheez-It Bowl. So we didn't see much of him last season until the end of the season when he came in and basically took over for Tyler Guyton after he got injured. He took an injury late in the season, and then we just left Big Sexy out there for the rest of the year, mainly because, one, we weren't playing in the playoffs. Two, Tyler Guyton was already pegged as a first-round draft pick. So, you know, kind of preserving him to make sure that he doesn't further injure himself in that situation. You know, you have him play if needed, but at the same time, you let Sexton get the reps you need because you knew that this season was coming up, right? So I think the blind side is going to be protected by Jacob Sexton. If I go left guard, it's going to be tough for me to really be able to narrow down fully, but I think we see some Heath Uzeta action. I think that he comes in, and I think that he develops himself enough. He takes over the left guard spot. Now, I don't have anything confirming his information. This is me literally speculating. And what I would like to see, because I'm going to break down all these sizes and stuff, which gets me excited. But Heath comes in. I think he goes at your guard. Your center is going to be Troy Everett. He came here to be a center when he transferred from Appalachian State last year, since he's going to get that center spot, and he's going to make that happen. At the right guard, it feels like Fabichi Wewu is going to be the one that's going to overcome, right? The North Texas former freshman All-American. I think he's going to pull up and take that right guard spot, which is good because you kind of want your least experienced guys on the with the team, at least dynamic wise, on the right side where Jackson Arnold throws the ball. That way, if he needs to move around, he can move around. The blind side, you want to put guys that's worked with them before to be able to help, you know, make them comfortable. And then at right tackle, this is where things get really interesting, right? You bring in a Spencer Brown, you bring in a Michael Tarkin, and you ask yourself, okay, who's gonna win that out? And to be honest, I think the other Jake gets it. Jake Taylor. I'm high on him. I think the Jakes are your bookends, Fabichi Wewu, and then I think you come in with Uzeta as well as Troy Everett running the center. Now, that is definitely just a speculation going into spring ball. We got those rosters like we talked about in the other videos, and when you start seeing the size of these players, your boy got excited, right? Because, so the offensive line we have right now, including the freshmen that are coming in, we have everyone over 300 pounds except for Gunnar Allen, which is, I think, is a walk-on center that came through, local guy. But over 300 pounds for everybody on the offensive line, which is huge, right? You know, we know that freshman class brought in an average of like 315 pounds of weight when you bring in EPL, Eugene Brooks, Isaiah Autry-Dent, then you bring in Daniel Akankumi as well as Josh Isosa. That was an average of like 315, which is massive to bring in just those players. And then all you got to do is get them into the right shape and make sure they've got the right weight. And I sense that Schmidt's going to take care of them when it comes to that, right? But besides that, the players that's coming back, I mean, Joshua Bates is up at 311. You got Logan Howland up at 306. You've got Heath Uzeta at 312. You've got Jake Taylor at 303. Troy Everett 305. And then Jacob Sexton at 317. So you ask yourself, all right, Jay, why is it that those are the players you're anticipating to go start? And I say that because I'm looking at experience within our system as well as players that may have some sort of relationships. For example, Fabichi Wewu came from North Texas, right? He was a redshirt freshman last year. As a freshman, his coach was Seth Luttrell. So because of that, I sense that him coming over means that he's probably going to be a little bit more acclimated to a Luttrell offense, whatever wrinkles he add to it. But I think he'll be ready. And, you know, the early reports are he looks pretty good, looks strong, knows how to move, good at blocking. I think Teddy, actually it wasn't Teddy, it was Gabe over there, Oklahoma Breakdown with him and Teddy, and they raved about him immediately. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay. something to keep an eye on. But I expected Weiwu to be really good coming in. And so that's why I was excited about him pulling up. But snap-wise, we lost a lot, though. Right tackle, we had the most snaps coming back at 337 with 290 coming from Jacob Sexton going in there, hence why you want him to play. Your right guard is your lowest. You got 4 snaps from Troy Everett, and you got 4 snaps from was that Azeta? So, 4 snaps from Gunnar Allen late in the game. So you don't got much at the right guard. Your left tackle, Sexton, comes in with the most experience as well at 120 snaps. And then, center, Everett played center and left guard. That's where all your snaps are coming from. That's just returning here to Oklahoma. I'm not even talking about any of the transfers, which is good because Spencer Brown and Michael Tarkin and Fabichi Weiwu have played a lot of snaps. They've played hundreds of snaps. So you bring in that experience there. And then Gary and Hatchett, who we just got to make sure he's good and healthy. He brings you more, especially since he comes from a Joe Moore award-winning line. And he was a good contributor there at Washington. So we're not just bringing in scrubs. I think the biggest question on that transfer sheet is Michael Tarkin. He was at Florida, and he was a all-SEC second team, went to USC and got benched. So it appears that, there may be some regression. But Bill Beatonbow has been high on him since he was in high school. So I don't sense that there's going to be a problem. I think that Tarkin can flip around. It's just going to be about, Beatonbow doing his magic, right? He brought in Tyler Guyton, and you saw the wonders he did with him. Walter Rouse came in with a bunch of snaps, but has got a lot more consideration coming to, play with Beatonbow. We've seen players do that, right? And especially with the transfer portal era, players are seeking out the opportunity to really be developed. And, yeah, kind of exciting, right? So getting Guyton to go first round, him, Anton Harris. Wanye Moore's transferred here. Got him drafted, and he played some meaningful minutes with the Chiefs. Beatonbow knows what he's doing, and people seek him out because of what he provides. So I'm sensing that with that, and then you got to go into the young guys, right? I anticipate us seeing some run from a Eugene Brooks. I anticipate him getting in some game. I anticipate some... I actually really do think that Josh Isosa as well. I'm sensing the younger guys will probably get more run at the guard position. I think the tackles are going to be a lot more locked down by your vets. I think Logan Howland may see a little bit of run. I don't know. I haven't heard much about him. He's 6'6", 306. I'd like him to be bigger than that. But, they're probably managing his weight properly. Sexton is 6'6", 317. That 11-pound difference is a 11-pound difference, right? You can see that on the field, especially going against those big-time defensive linemen and edges. It's going to be flying at them. Need him to get bigger, but I do think Joshua Bates is going to push Troy Everett for that center spot. But then when you go into young guys, I think Isosa as well as Eugene Brooks are the ones that are going to see the most run. Now, EPL could walk in and be a monster, and they say, look, we got to find a way to get this kid on the field. But I see him potentially coming in more as a sophomore. And I think that Akinkumi and Autry will both need to just get developing technique. So I think year one, we'll see a little bit of run, probably in some garbage time. But I think they contribute more as sophomores, especially as all these players age. So bringing in 5 offensive linemen in your class like that are all solid dudes, and then the next class coming up is going to be really, looks like it's shaping up to be solid as well. Man, I think I've mentioned it before, and I've had some people say, Beatonbow's not hate. No, there's a lot of it out there, Beatonbow getting hate, and I think that we're not recognizing that this man's been doing it here at Oklahoma for years, and he's produced some really good offensive lines who's put up some really good numbers in the offense for like 10 years. I trust that he will figure this out, no problem. I don't even care if he come in with 0 experience. I trust he has got a plan, and he will figure it out with these kids. So I'm not worried about the offensive line like most are. I think that may end up being one of the stronger rooms coming in the season. We thought wide receiver was a problem last year. Brought in a couple got an A transfer that became elite. Actually, a couple transfers, and one of them became super elite. The other one, when healthy, was a monster on the speed with Brennan Thompson. And then the wide receiver room ended up becoming our strength because we have so many weapons and options. I think we'll see that with the offensive line. So that's the O-line review. Hop in the comments, let your boy know your thoughts. How y'all feeling about what we've got in talking numbers, talking about these players? I mean, we got some. I think the line's going to be a lot better than I expect. If you made it this far, you like the content, please hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Love for you to join this family of college football fans. We talk a lot of OU football here, SEC and college football in general. Had a blast to do it. So check out the playlist. You'll be able to see the rest of the videos there as they populate. Another video for you to enjoy. We'll talk soon. Peace.